Are you guys happy with your lives? Do you guys look back and wish you guys could have done everything different? We're all gonna die. All this, who we are, our clothes, or the watches, the cap, all this is gonna stay here. And we're all gonna go eventually. For that is the way of life. So, because of that, I have tried to abstain myself from the materialistic view of things. Although I do understand that the pursuit of money and wealth, let's just say success. I just got stuck in a 20-minute loop trying to say this, whatever. Anyway, aside from those things, do you guys ever truly live? Do you guys ever sit on a bench at the park and ponder about life? I was talking to my friend, not recently, honestly. That was a while ago that I talked to him about this. But we were talking about religion and faith in God. And I asked him if he had ever met a woman that was faithful, when it comes to God and such. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but that had faith, that was not imposed on her. And what I mean by that is, we all come from families, and those families, they all have sometimes beliefs, whether you're Christian, you're a pagan, or whatever. The faith of the parents usually goes down to the children. And, that's how it is, even nowadays. It's every once in a while where you look at a child that questions their own beliefs. Why do we do things this way? Why do we say those things? Why do we believe in these things and not those? Why do we say that this is right and that is wrong? When it comes to our morals, who dictates what? I don't think most of society, honestly, most of society doesn't think about that at all. I feel like the system, sets up a way, and once you start walking that way, it's like a tunnel vision. You make money or you don't. You have a family or you don't. You get a house or you don't, and that's it. Like, who you are as a person, physically and spiritually, does not really matter in today's society, honestly. Whether you are a successful human being, it's all dependent on your financial situation. That's what it is. Nietzsche, the famous philosopher, he spoke of nihilism, as many of you guys know about that. I just recently stumbled upon his works. And it's so interesting. He said, God is dead and we have killed him. What does that mean? He does not negate God in a way. He does not deny the existence of God, but he says that the values and the idea of God, basically, is meaningless, and therefore we have killed him. Instead of worshiping God, we now have new gods, whether that's money, whether that's sex, whether that's whatever. The high place in which God was is no longer. People have no values nowadays. They don't have morals. They don't care. We all have different gods. And so by definition, the meaning that life had through God is no longer. You guys ever think about that? So then, in order to not have a meaningless life, we have to look deep within us and make up values of our own. And I think that's what I wanted to do when I first started this journey. Although I do need money to survive, of course, that's the way our lives are. What does it mean to truly be alive? What do I want out of my life? When I die and I'm all old and fucked up, which I'm not going to be fucked up, by the way. I'm just going to be a plain old guy. But when I'm that age, what do I want to have achieved, And please abstain from the money side of things. Who do you want to be as a person? What truths do you want to have found? That's something that I think about every day. I feel like we all should do that. Because although we are dying, if we look at it, through a scientific way, in physics, they say that matter can neither be destroyed nor created. It's just basically recycled. So in a way, our essence, who we are as beings, does not go away. We might die in the physical realm, but I'm sure that there's something else, whether that's heaven from the, Christian belief or whatever. There is something out there. And I don't know. I feel like we truly worship the world and we deny our own intellect. Think about that.